Okay, so the worst piece of advice I received when I was a young person, and when I say a young person, I mean a teenager or someone in their young 20s, was this. Don't grow up too fast. Take your time building out your life. Now, off the top, that doesn't sound like bad advice. And I think oftentimes this advice is handed down by folks who feel a little resentful about having had to grow up really fast themselves. Maybe they went through something specific, maybe they didn't, but they just felt like their youth was sort of a little bit thrown in the bin, and they did not get the time to be young and carefree. The reality is, I think most of that is an illusion. And I think the reality is the clock is always ticking. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you're someone with any sort of goals in your life, they don't have to be traditional financial or career-oriented goals, but any sort of goals in your life, it's gonna take some time to build up to them. It's unlikely that you're gonna start working today and achieve them tomorrow, unless you were born into generational wealth, or you're just extremely lucky. But for most of us, it's gonna take time to build the foundation of the lifestyle that we want to live. So I was a young person who thought a lot about the lifestyle that I wanted to live and how I was going to bridge the gap between where I was as a young, dumb kid and the person that I wanted to be. I thought a lot about this. I talked openly a lot about this to the older folks in my life. And I experimented a lot with a lot of different things that I thought might help get me ahead or move me further down the road closer to these goals. And for some reason, the advice that I kept getting from older people in my life was slow down, don't think so much about the future, you have your entire life to be an adult, etc., etc. Now, this advice wasn't particularly relevant to me, and it isn't particularly relevant, I think, to a lot of young people in the modern world, because we have the option of having such extended childhoods. I mean, I know a lot of people who are still playing out their childhood and they're in their 30s, right? Some people are in their 40s and they still really have not totally grown up. You have that option now. And so I don't think that advice is totally relevant. And there is not a part of me, there's absolutely no part of me that looks back on my teenage years or on my college days and thinks, you know, I wish I had gone slower. I wish I had taken more time to accomplish what I accomplished. Actually, on the contrary, I actually look back on it and wish that I had started a little bit younger and that I had been a little bit more steadfast in my path, which was to work towards my goals at a young age. That's just the path that I was on. So there's going to be lots of advice that you receive from older people in your life that's extremely useful and extremely helpful. And all of it comes from a place of help and love. I don't think any of these people are trying to hurt you. But you do need to learn which of these pieces of advice is relevant to you and your goals and which aren't. For me, this wasn't particularly relevant. So here are the top 3 reasons why I actually don't think that you should take it easy when you're in your 20s. The first one is, time is on your side, so you should experiment. Like I was just saying, it's going to take you a while to build to where you want to be. And you're probably going to have to take a couple L's on the road there. I know I certainly did and still do. I still experiment with different things that might help me accomplish my long-term goals. And the reality is that most of them are just going to fail. The reality is that most of them are not going to work out, or they might be successful, but they make you so unhappy that it is still a failure. When you're young, you have tons of time ahead of you to try all of these things. And it's not to say that you can't experiment when you're older. It's just that while time is on your side, you should take advantage of it. You should try the things that you want to try. You should try some things that you don't know if you're going to like. You should definitely try some things that you don't know if you're going to be good at it. And you will probably fail at a lot of these things. But the important thing is you're going to learn a ton of lessons along the way that will eventually help you get to where you want to be. The second reason I do not think that you should waste your 20s taking it easy is because there's no one relying on you, usually, right? Now, maybe you're a young person and you have a family and there are people relying on you, and that's a totally different situation. But for most young folks today, they don't have a family, right? They're not married, they don't have kids, they don't have a mortgage, they don't have anyone depending on them. So it is a lot easier to take these risks. I think about this all the time, how when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, and certainly when I was in my teens, being broke was really not that emotionally distressing to me. Not having my dream job, not making a lot of money was really not that emotionally distressing to me, because really I just needed to be able to support myself. That meant being able to afford my rent. I was usually renting a bedroom and be able to buy some food and put gas in my car. And beyond that, I sort of had this freedom to try things, not all of which are going to make you a ton of money overnight. And so I really think that people in their 20s, and even if you're, 17, 18, you need to take advantage of the fact that it's just you. You just have to look out for yourself. That's not always going to be true, right? As you get older, even if you don't have a family, there are going to be people who rely on you and may at some point be your own parents. It may be your siblings. It may be members of your community. As you grow into yourself, you will start to accumulate these responsibilities that you just don't have when you're 18 or 19 or 20 years old. So it's easier to take these L's. It's easier to fail at things and just pick right back up where you left off and start again. Just dust yourself off and try something else. It does require that you have the courage to fail. It does require that you have the courage to make mistakes. This is your time to make mistakes. This is your time to fail and really not have any recourse for it. The third reason that I don't think that you should just take it easy in your 20s is along the same line of experimentation. The reality is sometimes you don't know what you want until you get it. This is a super common experience, right? You're a kid or a teenager or a young person, and you have this fantasy of how you think life will go. You have a fantasy of the things that you think you will enjoy doing. And you're going to find that some of that is just not true. And there's oftentimes no way to understand this ahead of time. You don't know that you don't want something until it's sitting right in your lap. There's many things for which that is true. I cannot tell you how many people, probably most of my peers, arguably including myself, who went to school to study a certain thing and then never ended up using it. Now, am I saying that that time and the energy spent on school was wasted? No. Or that it was useless? No, not at all. It just means that they had an idea that they would want to do something with their lives or with their future, and then the circumstances just didn't align. They didn't end up doing those things for any number of reasons. Maybe they attempted to do it and they just didn't like it. Or maybe the industry just wasn't a fit for them. So there's going to be lots of these experimentations that you do, and you're going to learn a lot about yourself and surprise yourself with the things that you believed that you wanted. Again, in order to move through this, you're going to have the courage to just be wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is sort of the beauty of being young. And one of the reasons that older people will say youth is wasted on the young, what they really mean is time, right? The gift of time is wasted on the young. And it will be especially wasted on you if you just sit around doing nothing until you're in your 30s and then decide that, well, I should probably do something with my life. Don't be one of those people. Take your youth, take your time that you have today, and make some mistakes. All right, guys, that's it for today. I told you this would be a short talk. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified of new content. I have new content here every single week. Also, check out my shorts. I've got a lot of great shorts, some quick bites of information that'll really help you out if you are looking for that. That's it for me. See you next time.